Badlands. Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
I don't consider myself a conspiracy buff at all, but when they get a lot of coincidences, I get a little suspicious and call me crazy.
Polls, weird talk shows, crazy groups every Sunday telling you what you think.
The Republicans and the Democrats conspire with one another, which they do.
There is a conspiracy by big business against American democracy.
We know that there was a conspiracy.
There was a conspiracy.
There was no conspiracy.
Was there a conspiracy?
Communist conspiracy directed out of Moscow.
The right-wing conspiracy.
Communist conspiracy is a deliberate and predictable plan of action to subvert the world.
Right-wing
conspiracy. It's an international criminal conspiracy.
Vast right-wing conspiracy.
Great conspiracy.
There are all these conspiracy
Was
theories.
there a conspiracy? I don't know.
Perhaps themselves even involved in the conspiracy.
There was a conspiracy.
No evidence
of a conspiracy.
Anybody would have to be a fool nowadays to dismiss conspiracies.
Conspiracy theory.
Cockeyed conspiracy theory.
Conspiracy theory exists because there really is conspiracy.
But they never told a soul about it. In fact, they engaged in a vast conspiracy.
Since you get accused of being a conspiracy theorist, of being a
The
paranoid.
historical context of actual
Conspiracy.
A conspiracy of bad people.
As always happens at some point in a conspiracy. One night, Krasnetti got drunk in a honky-tonk and spilled the beans.
There was a conspiracy, and government was involved in it.
Conspiracy existing within the United States government.
There was a conspiracy.
Conspiracy.
A conspiracy by the CIA.
The conspiracy of a few.
Dark, secretive, conspiratorial, evil.
Then it was certainly a deliberate conspiracy.
High-level conspiracy.
The do's and the don'ts and the rights and the wrongs of the various conspiracy theories that are good.
Possibility of a conspiracy.
In a moral sense, I think it was a conspiracy.
One conspiracy, that's all I'm talking about.
Full of speculation, conspiracy theories, and the like.
And what's going on here?
You began to wonder what was really happening in America. I mean, was there a vast conspiracy afoot?
You know, there could have been a conspiracy.
Do you think you're obsessed with conspiracy?
Conspiracy theory.
A conspiracy.
I'm afraid you'll catch me. I'm afraid you'll catch me.
A conspiracy would do the job nicely.
Good evening and happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to Baseless Conspiracies. Zach, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well, John. How about yourself?
I am doing pretty darn good.
Did you ever pull the plug this weekend?
Pull the plug.
Like pull the trigger
On
your system?
Oh, no, I did not yet, but I'm going to. I was going to do it today, but like Kimberly's out, our accountant, keep her in our prayers, guys. And not gonna lie, payroll was a freaking nightmare.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can totally imagine. I mean, so how's she doing, by the way? That's like first question.
She is, last I heard, still in the hospital. It's like every day she's like, I heard she's getting out today, and then didn't happen yet. So I'm not 100% sure. Obviously, the brain bleeds. That is not a good thing. But I saw a picture. I think I sent that to you. Like her eyes are completely like blacked out. Is nuts.
She looks like a raccoon. It's awful. Like, so did you find out what actually happened? Like, what's the whole story?
Well, when I spoke to her on the phone, she was walking in a parking lot and a car was driving in reverse and hit her. I don't know if it ran her over. I don't know if it just like hit her and knocked her back. Like, I don't know. I didn't understand. And I didn't want to like press further because it was like 5 minutes before the power hour was starting and she was in the ICU. So
sure.
But I will eventually get that. But yeah, so can't wait for her to be back to take payroll.
Can't wait for her to fully heal.
And to fully heal, obviously.
Selfish son of a bitch.
Well, obviously that part too.
I know.
There's multiple reasons why I can't wait for her to be fully healed and back. Plus, I need a golf partner at the Garts, so you're clearly not cutting it.
You have never even seen me play golf. Here's the thing. You guys, I don't know how you kids do it. Okay, you'll like stay out till 4 a.m. and then you'll wake up at 7 to go golfing at 9. I don't even know how you guys do this.
I don't stay out till 4 a.m.
Well, it seems like everybody else does. Everybody else is like out there just like partying it up, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we got golf tomorrow. I don't care. I'm gonna win anyways." And I'm just like, really?
I only get to go one day, and it's usually the Wednesday before, maybe Thursday in the morning. And every other night, I'm in bed by no later than 2.
Okay. All right. Well, good for you.
Very responsible.
Very responsible.
We do have a few things to discuss, some interesting developments since last Monday. We're also going to hopefully, maybe, finally finish the Red Scarf murders.
We will definitely finish the Red Scarf murders. We've got probably the two most important cases. Well, I guess, I don't know. That's difficult to say because Chester and Chris were pretty important. I mean, they kind of started the whole thing. But these are the last two cases. And I think that we can 100% say that they are connected.
Yeah. So we'll do that. What else? Gosh dang it. I thought there was one more thing, but I don't remember. So, I really want to do the John Benet Ramsey stuff. We don't have to do it next, but I watched the Netflix thing, and I keep thinking of that conspiracy theory where she was never real to begin with. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
We kind of did that just a little bit. Like, I mean,
know.
What is it? That Katy Perry is John Benet Ramsey or something?
No, the conspiracy theory, there's a whole Twitter thread. We might have to have Patrick back on to walk us through this. Yeah. We're gonna have to have a guest on, an unnamed guest on, to walk us through this, because it's like compelling, man. Like with her dad working for that, whatever, the Applied Graphics. It's compelling. So
wait, let me get this straight. The theory is that she's a figment. She's fictitious. She never existed at all.
Yes.
Okay. This is even a conspiracy theory I don't know about. Because I mean, we talked about one early on. I think we were talking about like celebrities that were alleged to have been somebody else, and I'm pretty sure that like Katy Perry, it was rumored, was actually John Benet Ramsey.
Yeah, you know what? The person who like has this whole series of threads on it.
Yeah,
we should just have that person come on and walk us through it. But anyway, we'll figure that out later. Let's get to our sponsor of today's shows real quick, and then we'll talk a little, maybe Kash Patel.
Oh yeah.
Maybe a little Biden pardoning.
Oh yeah.
And then don't get too excited. And then was there? I don't remember if we didn't. I'll message you. So hold on. Let me play this quick first.
Okay.
Hey there, Badlanders. Do you love Badlands as much as you hate communism? Do you want patriotic apparel that's not made in China, but also won't make you look like a dork? Well, then we've got just the thing for you. Introducing an entirely new line of official Badlands gear made in partnership with the Culture Warriors at Rise Attire and Rise INTL. With 4 brand new collections of original artwork across a wide range of products to choose from. Spread the signal with deep-cut symbols from devolution lore to the ghosts in the machine on the front lines of the Psy War. Wrap yourself in America the Beautiful with the warm tones and textures of Badlands National Park to the eye of the storm in Mount Rushmore. This is premium quality streetwear, custom made to order from scratch just for you by the Patriots at our East Peoria, Illinois facility. Don't wait. Explore the entire store and order your new gear today at badlandsmedia.tv/rise. Represent Badlands boldly and proudly. This culture war ain't gonna win itself.
Guys, that sale ends in like an hour and 19 minutes. So I think I did the math right. It ends at midnight Eastern, or 11:59 p.m. Eastern time. So make sure you guys head over there to Rise Attire and get yourself some gear at a discount, some Christmas sweaters. And then our final sponsor of today's show is, and Zach, I messaged you in the private chat, is Goldco. The last 4 years have put so much stress on American family finances. Help in the stress now with President-elect Donald Trump and by investing in gold and silver. Join the thousands of hardworking Americans taking proactive steps to help protect and safeguard their savings with our partners at Goldco. Goldco has been established as a top-rated precious metals company and a leader in the gold industry, providing white glove treatment for over 10 years. Their buyback guarantee assures you that if your situation changes, they will repurchase your metals at the best price, providing you with peace of mind. You have the peace of mind that comes from knowing that your hard-earned assets are securely diversified. Find out the relationship between gold, silver, Trump, and you with the free report focused on Trump and your financial future. You may even qualify for up to 10% back in bonus silver. Visit badlandsgold.com to claim your free information and instantsilver.com/badlands to see how much free silver you can get. That's badlandsgold.com and instantsilver.com/badlands to take control of your financial destiny.
Seize the day.
Carpe diem.
Carpe diem, yes. Well, I wasn't certain if you knew Latin.
Fluent.
I know.
I'm fluent in those two words.
I suppose you were raised Catholic, right? So I mean,
I was.
You've had enough Latin, like me.
Oh man. Okay. Well,
speaking of the church, someone in the chat was trying to remember the name of Anton LaVey's daughter that is allegedly the mother of Taylor Swift, and her name is Zena Schreck. Zena Schreck, incidentally, has been saved. She left her father's satanic church some years ago.
Wow.
And so I don't know. She does have an uncanny resemblance to Taylor Swift, though. And baby Jessica is definitely still baby Jessica. Her dad follows me on X, and I caught up with the whole family. I saw where they're at. She's a mother. I think she's still missing part of her foot, but she definitely looks way different than she did when she was 8.
I have no idea about anything you just said. So
baby Jessica is that little kid in Texas that fell down the well. You weren't, I don't even think you were born yet, or maybe you would have been very young.
Oh, we talked about that on some show, maybe a Liberty Den or something.
Could be.
Was it on this show? I don't remember, but I do got to give a shout out here to, if you look on our channel here, we had a new show debut, the Alphas Make Sandwiches. It's the all-girl show, and it currently has more views than the all-boys show. So suck it, Alpha, suck it, CanCon, suck it, JB, suck it, Abs, suck it all, y'all. They're killing it. So I haven't actually watched the episode, but I heard it was great. Tattoo Teacher who's in the chat, she was on earlier, so
right on.
That's awesome. I don't know why Ash isn't here, but I'm sure she'll show up.
She's probably doing laundry and listening.
Yeah. You're probably right. Okay, I gotta play this video and then we'll talk Kash Patel and Hunter Biden. This is hilarious.
New details about that Trump-Trudeau dinner from two people who were at the table. We are told that when Trudeau told President-elect Trump that new tariffs would kill the Canadian economy, Trump joked to him that if Canada can't survive without ripping off the U.S. to the tune of $100 billion a year, then maybe Canada should become the 51st state and Trudeau could become its governor. Right.
Look at Brett Byers' face here. He's like,
there's more on that detail with the panel. Peter, thank you.
It's so funny. But you know what? I am all for it. We can finally have Northest Dakota. So South Dakota, North Dakota, Northest Dakota. And Trudeau can be governor, but fuck that. Fuck that guy. But that's so funny of Trump to say that. Just like teabagging the shit out of Trudeau publicly.
That's the sound of Donald Trump slapping his balls on the table in Justin Trudeau's plate, just completely trolling him. And it's so on brand for Trump. Perfect. And you know that Justin Trudeau is like, nervous laughter, like really doesn't know what to say. Totally imagining all the times that he besmirched Donald Trump behind his back and knowing that Donald has him by the short and curlies. Like there's nothing you can do, Justin.
Well, it's just funny enough that Trudeau came to Mar-a-Lago to bend the knee. Essentially, that's what this was.
Kiss the ring.
Kiss the ring, bend the knee, and basically beg Trump to don't do these tariffs. And Trump's like, well, if you don't like it, how about you just become the 51st state? You guys are... Anyway, no offense to any Canadians, no offense to Miss Bright if you're watching.
Oh no, but, no, the Canadians in the audience love the idea.
I hope so.
Yeah.
So
and
funny.
Snapcake, I see the Sammy Davis Jr. I've got Sammy Davis Jr. written down. Thank you.
We have a lot written down. Okay, let's talk a little bit about. Well, let's briefly talk about Kash Patel. I don't want to go into too much detail because, man, Saturday we were pre-recorded our Power Hour.
People were pissed.
I know it was Thanksgiving weekend, and it wasn't even my idea. Somebody else on the Power Hour, I'm not going to name names or throw anybody under the bus, but they requested if we could do it early for family reasons. And I was like, of course. And then we recorded it, and like not even 2 hours later, might have been less than that, might have been under an hour, they dropped the news that Kash Patel is named the director of the FBI. And I was like, because everybody's like freaking, oh, tonight's show's going to be lit. Can't wait for tonight's show.
People were saying it in my chat too. They were like, I'm heading over to DPH. You can't wait to hear the boys talk about Kash Patel, because I got a chance to talk about it on my show.
Yeah.
Even though my show is about something totally different, I was like, I can't not talk about this. And
but anyway, Wednesday's show, me and Bernie Bright are going to do a pretty darn deep dive into the Kash Patel stuff. It got lots of clips. It'll be a really good show. So I'm going to save a majority of my thoughts for that. But I do want to hear your thoughts. Maybe spitball a little bit back and forth.
Well, I mean, first of all, I'm not surprised. If I'm surprised at anything, I'm surprised at just the fact that he did it so early. The fact that he did it early leads me to believe that he probably already had a conversation with Christopher Wray. I would imagine that Christopher Wray will probably remain the FBI director up until Kash Patel comes in. If he steps down, obviously the deputy director is going to step in interim, and then Kash Patel will make an easy entrance. It's perfect. I mean, for all of the shit that anybody has given Donald Trump about any of his other picks, I would suggest that this is probably the most consequential yet. I trust that the CIA is in good hands. Now I know that the FBI is in good hands. I believe the DOJ is in good hands. And, I think that Marco Rubio is going to do what Trump needs him to do at Department of State. So pretty much all of the major agencies that need to be completely overhauled, I think they're going to. I'll be looking for Kash Patel to close the DC bureau on the first day that he walks in there and turn it into the Deep State Museum. I sure hope he actually does that, because that would just be so epic. But you just look at the reactions from the media, from Andrew McCabe, from anybody who has something to lose. And we can roll that right into the Hunter Biden conversation, because all of the people who are worried about Kash Patel becoming FBI director are now suggesting that Biden should just pardon all of DC. Just get it over with. Just like one giant pardon.
It is amazing for a lot of reasons, especially when it comes to all the ways the FBI has politically persecuted Trump and perverted justice and buried things and just totally messed up. When you're talking about Trump and all the things he's talked about with D-class, Kash Patel's the perfect guy,
the man
to have in there. And then on top of that, like, Trump has kept Kash Patel like in a lot of very important roles since leaving office. One of them being his like head guy with NARA.
Yep.
And so I think there's going to be some interesting stuff related to the classified documents case, the Jack Smith stuff. I mean, there's really, you could have a pretty good imagination with what Kash Patel might do, and you may not be wrong.
I mean,
this is probably the best pick that Trump has made.
If you go look at the drops, and I know you haven't read them, but the idea of declassification, it like hung heavy throughout the drops. Okay. And Kash Patel has been very, very vocal about declassification and just like in general across the board. I mean, making everything available to the people, still obviously, hiding sources and methods, but not using sources and methods as a pretext to keep information from the people. So any investigation of consequence during Donald Trump's time in office and after, Kash Patel has made reference to completely exposing, blowing the lid on it. And he has been part of some very consequential investigations. Even before any of this stuff, Kash Patel was on the scene when he was working with Devin Nunes in House Oversight. My good friend, Nate Kane, blew the whistle on Uranium One. He was working at the FBI, and he's the one who brought all of the information about Hillary Clinton, about Mueller, exposing CFIUS. Just so many different things were part of that. The guy who was the oversight guy for the intel community. What was his name?
Oversight guy for the intel community.
He was like hold on,
Inspector General.
Yeah, he was the Inspector General for the intel community. I want to say it was like Wolf something or other. Like, hold on.
What year was this?
This would have been while Donald Trump was in office. OIG for intel under Trump. Michael Atkinson. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It implicates Michael Atkinson. There are so many names. And here's the thing. Kash Patel was given all of that information. And then when the Democrats flipped the House and they took control of all those committees, the investigation got buried and all of the information disappeared and it went nowhere. But Kash Patel has the goods on it. And so that would be one of those things that would absolutely come out. And he's been so dead set on making people pay for the guilty things that they've done. If you've committed crimes, doesn't matter who you are, you're going to pay the price. So yes, I've been on a high the last couple of days, John.
It's going to be such a change of pace, and the impact that this pick is going to have is going to be one of the most tangible things I think we're going to feel. Like you can talk about Doge and all these things, and those are going to be so impactful if they actually go through with all the things they're going to say, like especially for our pocketbooks. But for the two-tier system of justice, and those of us that want to see some form of like retribution for the people that have done the bullshit they have these past like 8 years or more, this is the pick you want in there. I mean, this is the guy who's basically responsible for the Spygate stuff coming to light and that whole investigation. It's just a fantastic pick. He's the reason I'm Patel Patriot. He's my pseudo namesake, and we're going to discuss all that stuff too, all the devolution related items and the hate I've gotten the last few days now that he's been nominated. We'll discuss all that stuff too. So make sure you guys tune in on Wednesday. Yeah, very gay. But
and one more thought about Hunter Biden. I actually think that Joe Biden pardoning Hunter, because I mean, obviously we expected this, but I think that it opens the door for Donald Trump to come in and immediately pardon all the January 6 people and say, well, hey, I mean, this is obviously a politicized Justice Department. Joe Biden said it himself. All these people have been held, many without trial, many with zero due process. They've been treated horribly. And, since that time, we've learned that it was a setup by Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats. None of them deserve to be here. We're just going to go ahead and pardon all of them.
That's one route. Or Kash Patel could come out and drop some declassified documents that say that there was a setup, and then all those cases would get turned over, whatever. I mean, you could see it both ways. The pardon for the J6ers is likely going to come. But the thing about the Hunter Biden pardon, which is hilarious to me, is I see a lot of people saying, okay, well, Joe Biden gives this blanket pardon for 10 years, basically the time he started at Burisma through now. And
well, he had until freaking midnight. He could go out and commit crimes like before the pardon took effect.
Well, okay, so the pardon drops. Hunter's lawyer tried to dismiss his case.
Yes.
David Weiss comes out, the attorney, and is like, yes, I know this pardon's in there, but Biden didn't do it through the official channels, number one. And so we haven't had confirmation that this pardon has gone through. But either way, you're still guilty of these crimes, and the case should not be dismissed. You just maybe not have to face the consequences because of the pardon, but you are still guilty of committing the crime. That's how the pardons work. So but okay, so the thing that a lot of people missed, I posted about this last night. If you go back to Trump's time in office from 2017 to 2020, there is, I would say, more than 200, and this, I didn't even look that long. I looked for 30 minutes, hundreds of opinion pieces and research packets and all sorts of stuff about why Donald Trump cannot pardon his co-conspirators before leaving office.
Exactly.
The left spent years explaining why Trump can't use the pardon power the way that Biden just used the pardon power.
Right.
And so it's going to be interesting to see if there is actual crimes that they committed with the Burisma stuff, the influence peddling, if it leads to an impeachment and all these things, this pardon is meaningless. Well, because it's essentially a self-pardon, because he's pardoning somebody who helped him commit the crimes.
It is. However, I think that there is reason, there's room for them to argue that the pardon was not given for the Burisma stuff or anything else in the last 10 years that would affect Joe. Obviously, it is. It's very clear that it is. But he only name checks the specific crimes that he was charged with and then was convicted of. But, I mean, it's quite obvious. I mean, anybody else can make the argument that Joe only gave him a 10-year total absolution pardon because that covers the time that they were active in Ukraine and all of the influence peddling all around the world. Now, if he goes and pardon, because Jim Biden has not been charged with anything. If he goes and pardons Jim Biden for the same 10-year period, well, then he fucks himself, okay? Because then it's very clear that that's the only reason that either of them got the pardon. Jim hasn't been charged with anything. The other part of this is that Hunter Biden, because he no longer has any Fifth Amendment protections, he can be compelled to testify in both Congress and in criminal trials. So he can't claim Fifth Amendment privilege. He can't say, I can't testify to that because I'll incriminate myself. He's already been incriminated. And even if he was to say something that he did illegal, it's completely covered under that pardon. So he cannot be stopped. Well, he can't stop himself. He either has to perjure himself or he has to testify.
Yeah, I want to find the actual, let me pull this up. I want to read what it says here. The actual pardon. Be it known that this day, I, Joseph R. Biden, President of the United States, pursuant to my powers under Article 2, Section 2, Clause 1 of the Constitution, have granted unto Robert Hunter Biden a full and unconditional pardon for those offenses against the United States which he has committed or may have committed or taken part in during the period from January 1st, 2014 through December 1st, 2024, including but not limited to all offenses charged or prosecuted, including any that have resulted in convictions by Special Counsel Weiss. And so, I mean, to me, the way this is worded, this is an unconditional pardon for anything.
It is. It absolutely is. Oh, it 100%. Yeah, make no mistake.
but there's also one point too. So pardon power, like a pardon like this has never been challenged to the Supreme Court.
No.
And so with if this led to, if there's an impeachment, an actual impeachment into to Joe Biden that actually comes because of evidence that maybe is brought forth by, let's say, Kash Patel or something. And it turns out that he did do the pay for play scheme, which we all know he did. This pardon wouldn't stick, in my opinion, but we'll see. I mean, we're a ways away from that, but this is a terrible look for Biden. It's a terrible look for the Democrats. It makes them all hypocrites. I mean, it's perfect for Trump. And Trump has, not only does Trump have free reign to politically persecute anybody he wants when he's in office because of what they did to him, but he also has free reign to use the pardon power however he sees fit. Because they did it all first. It's just, it's perfect.
Yeah. So the only way that I see, so pardons are a plenary power. They're absolute. The only way that I see this pardon being lifted or being negated is if it's proven that Joe Biden was not actually president during the last 4 years. If something is done to prove that his victory in 2020 was illegitimate, which I believe all of us are hoping is going to happen anyways, and he is effectively negated from the history books, and he goes down in history as the president who never was, then that pardon and any other order, proclamation, executive order, whatever it might be, anything else, even anything that he signed when he was president, if he signed something Congress passed into law, all of those things will be null and void. And so at that point, definitely Hunter Biden's pardon would mean absolutely nothing.
Yeah. Well, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're going to get that narrative disclosure. I don't think that's the path that Trump is going to take. I would have thought so if they would have stolen the election and exposed the election fraud.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, we're going to get all sorts of exposure here. Because they narratively went through the entire election, I think they're going to narratively go through with Biden having been president, whatever. But we'll see. Who knows when we get the election fraud exposure? It has to come.
Yeah.
But I do think there are other routes that it can be argued up to the Supreme Court that by pardoning Hunter Biden, it was in effect a pardon of a co-conspirator, which you can't do. And if that's the case, if that can all get proven, I mean, I know it's a lot, but then the pardon would become null and void. So we'll see. We have a ways to go, but it's exciting stuff. It's funny to watch the entire left meltdown. Like, did you see that video of Adam Goldman today?
I don't think so.
Oh, let me find this. This is great.
Brian Murphy is asking, is treason beyond pardoning? No, there is no crime that's beyond pardoning. The power of the pardon, only held by the president, is plenary, it's absolute, it's ultimate. It only rests with the president, and the president can decide whom to pardon, for what, for any reason, no matter what the crime.
Except himself for treason.
Except himself. That's right. Yeah.
Or for treason. Like,
yeah.
Maybe I'm not 100% sure on that, because I think a president can. Well, no, I don't know if he can.
A president can definitely pardon anyone else for treason. Okay.
But himself. Yeah.
Anyone but himself. He technically cannot pardon himself for anything. Now, that's never been tested, But I mean, you've got different legal minds out there that suggest that, well, it hasn't been done yet, so maybe it should be done. And that would be very interesting. If Biden pardons himself, well, then he has, directly gone against what you found there and what we quoted earlier. But I think that undoubtedly undoubtedly that would be challenged. Yes.
Here, and actually, you know what? Let me show you this first. This is what I was reading through last night, and this is from Protect Democracy, like the total left wing. Like these were people that were part of the steal, but leading up to the election, they were talking about how Trump can't pardon his co-conspirators, and so like this is the part that caught my eye. Presidents cannot grant self-protective pardons or those that would have the intent and effect of impeding an investigation into themselves or their interests amounting to a self-pardon. So, and which is exactly what I think this pardon does for Hunter Biden and the Burisma stuff and the pay-for-play stuff. But
it clearly does. I mean, I think anybody can see that.
Yeah. Okay, check this out. This is epic. And this guy on the right here is Dan Goldman. He's one of the biggest douche canoes in Congress, maybe on planet Earth.
Impeachment lawyer Dan Goldman, now Democrat in the House.
No.
In July of 2023, just after that plea deal fell through, this is what you said. I want to watch.
Do you think a pardon for his son would be a mistake?
Yes, and I don't think there's any chance that President Biden is going to do that, unlike his predecessor, who pardoned all of his friends and anyone who had any access to him. And I think you see that in this case, where he kept on, and Merrick Garland kept on, a Trump-appointed U.S. attorney to investigate the president's son. If there is not an indication of the independence of the Department of Justice beyond that, I don't know what we could look for.
What does that feel like, watching yourself back then, reassuring people that Biden was not going to issue a pardon for his son?
Yeah, and I think that if that plea agreement and that plea deal had gone through, there would be no pardon. That was a satisfactory outcome.
It had already fallen through.
Only. Sorry?
When you reacted, this was when the deal had fallen through. And I hear what you're saying.
So that's so epic, man.
His face.
CNN.
Oh. I know. I saw that. I did see that earlier. He looked like a deer in headlights. Like he knows exactly how bad this is. All of them know how bad it is. I mean, they've spent hours and hours collectively over the last couple of years saying that Biden would never pardon his son, Karine Jean-Pierre, Joe Biden himself, everybody
on the left.
Oh,
because that was the talking
gorgeous.
point. It was like Biden, believes in the rule of law. He would never pardon his son. It would never, ever happen. Never. And now they all have to eat the biggest amount of crow, and it's so beautiful.
No one is above the law except for my son.
Yeah. And the thing is like, I get it. If I was president and my son did some shit and I had the power to like pardon him, I mean, selfishly, I'd probably do the same damn thing. But for like this, the hypocrisy here of them lying, like at least admit it, don't lie about it and use it as political fodder.
I mean, it's the final it's the last nail in the coffin, right? I mean, the Democrats have completely exposed themselves. They're not the party of the people. They don't have the American people's best interests in mind. Every decision they make is designed to either cripple this country or serve themselves, enrich themselves and their donors. Joe Biden has always been a liar. Okay. I mean, if anybody is surprised that Joe Biden lied about this, then you must have been sleeping under a rock for the last 50 years because he has a rich history. Until Barack Obama chose him to be vice president, he was universally known as the least trustable senator or maybe even congressman in general. I mean, the man is a perpetual liar. It is a congenital defect that he was born with. And every time he opens his mouth, he's talking bullshit.
Yeah, it's crazy. I wonder, I would love to talk to my girlfriend's neighbors, the liberals, and ask them about this. Like, so what do you think of Biden pardoning his own son?
Please get it on please record it this time, Dave.
I will. I'll do my best. All right, let's get into the finale, the second finale of the Red Scarf murders.
That's right. Okay, so tonight we're going to be talking about two final cases. So if you'll remember, Kate Spade was murdered on June 5th.
David Spade's sister-in-law.
David Spade's sister-in-law, the handbag magnet, Kate Spade. She was murdered on June 5th of 2018. Inez Zoroagueda was murdered on June 6th of 2018, the next day. And then Anthony Bourdain was murdered on June 8th of 2018. So 3 murders within a week, all of them happening the exact same way. Anthony Bourdain was found in this apartment in France with the red belt from his bathrobe tied around his neck and then tied to the handle on the door. This was in Haute-Rhin, France. Probably not the way you pronounce it, but I don't speak French. And just in case anybody is, not familiar, Anthony Bourdain was a pretty famous celebrity chef. He had a movie made about him. He wrote a memoir about how he was like a hopeless drug addict. He ruined his career in New York. I think it was called Parts Unknown. The show was Parts Unknown. I don't remember what the movie was. It was with Bradley. I don't remember his last name either, but he was in the Silver Linings Playbook. If you've ever seen
Bradley Cooper.
Bradley Cooper, yes, Bradley Cooper played Anthony Bourdain in this movie, and it didn't do particularly well. But Anthony Bourdain's book sold well. He had a number of different cable television shows on a couple of different networks. When he died, he was the host of CNN's Parts Unknown. No Reservations is probably his most famous television show. And, back when I used to have cable, 15, 20 years ago, it was pretty cool. Vice wasn't a thing, and it was obviously well before they turned woke. But, Anthony Bourdain was like this hard living, smoking and drinking guy who used to do heroin, and he knew how to cook. He knew everything about food. He'd travel the world. He'd go to these far-flung locations, eat the craziest things, hang out with people in their native habitats. And it was just really cool. Definitely seemed like kind of like motorcycle diaries, but with food and cooking. And I'm a bit of a foodie myself. I love to cook, so I enjoyed watching it. And his social media feed was pretty good. He was a liberal for most of his life. It seemed like he kind of took, I wouldn't say that he turned conservative at the end, but Anthony Bourdain seemed to kind of wake up at the end of his life. He worked with Chris Cornell, Chester Bennington, also Brad Pitt and Rick Rubin on one of those charities. It was called Luminary Lane. And when he was posting on social media, he would frequently go after people that he didn't like Henry Kissinger. Henry Kissinger was considered to be one of the biggest war criminals of the 20th century. George W. Bush, obviously, he was indicted by the International Criminal Court for war crimes, along with Dick Cheney. He was also not fond of Vladimir Putin. So I guess maybe you could say that strong authoritarian types Anthony was not that fond of. And he also went after, at the end, Hillary Clinton and the Clinton crime syndicate. And that had something to do with the fact that his girlfriend, Asia Argento, was basically the one who started the Me Too movement. It wasn't the Me Too movement, but it was the beginning of actresses coming out and saying, Harvey Weinstein raped me. And so Harvey Weinstein and Hillary Clinton were very close at this time. Like, he was a big donor to the Democrats. He was almost considered a god in Hollywood, and he gave a lot. He was famous for giving starlets their beginning, like starting their careers out at the Weinstein Company, and before that it was Miramax. But Asia Argento, she went on this awards show. Like, she accepted an award. She went on stage. I want to say it might have been like Cannes or something like that. But if it was Cannes, then it was just her like introducing a movie. But I can't remember exactly what the setting was. But she basically went up there and she gave a speech, and she, in detailed, agonizing testimony, recounted Harvey Weinstein raping her. And at the end of the speech, she said, "We are no longer victims. We are victorious." And then that started this like domino effect of all of these other women suddenly having the courage to come out and say that they were either sexually harassed or sexually assaulted by Harvey Weinstein. And we know that Harvey Weinstein eventually faced charges in both California and in New York. And now he's in prison and he's not doing super well.
I got that speech here. I can play it quick.
Okay. Let's go.
In 1997, I was raped by Harvey Weinstein.
Let me see if I can find the note.
I was raped at she was raped at Cannes with Harvey Weinstein. That's why it was so important that she gave this speech at Cannes.
Gotcha. Let me see if I can find the speech without the French.
In 1997, I was raped by Harvey Weinstein here at Cannes. I was 21 years old. This festival was his hunting ground. Sitting among you, there are those who still have to be held accountable for their conduct against women, for behavior that does not belong in this industry, does not belong in any industry or workplace.
Sorry about the background music there. There was really no good option, but yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, very crazy, very crazy. So
and that was Bourdain's girlfriend.
That was Anthony Bourdain's girlfriend, yes, and he was very supportive of her. There was some problems in the relationship. Allegedly, there was some infidelity. That was one of the reasons that was alleged that he actually killed himself. Ultimately, was Ozzy Argento cheating on him, and such and such. But I obviously, we don't know. We don't know what was in his heart. We don't know what was in his head. But several years ago, in 2018, I interviewed this guy, and he was an unknown at the time. Since then, I have come to believe that most of what he said was bullshit. But he was known as John Here to Help. Okay. And he had all of this crazy stuff to say, but he had only talked about his own story up until that point, working as a DEA informant. Okay. And so I invited him on the show because I wanted to hear about him working as a DEA informant. And he came on the show, and basically he just started talking, and he tells this story about how Anthony Bourdain had witnessed Adam Schiff raping and murdering this little boy at the Chateau Marmont in 2013 or something like that, many years before he died, or a couple of years before he died. Now, at the time I was just like, whoa, had no idea this is what he was going to talk about. Since that time, I always hear people say that as if it's fact. I don't know that to be the case. Okay. But that is certainly one of those conspiratorial things that's floating out there. It will forever be out there. And people, will always repeat that as a reason for Anthony Bourdain's murder.
The thing about John Here to Help, I've heard all that stuff, but
yeah,
this guy, I don't remember where he was coming up. It was the Lynn Wood stuff.
Yes.
Lynn Wood had gotten testimony from John Here to Help against, I think it was against like Pence and Rod Rosenstein and all these people.
Yes.
And so I read through the entire Lynn Wood, deposition or whatever of John Here to Help.
Yep.
And there were multiple contradictions. Like the guy couldn't even get his timeline right.
Yes.
Like there's two FBI agents who said that they had a falling out when one of them became district attorney general. But he related it to the time that he was moving out of his White House because of his divorce. But if you look at the divorce records of that same guy, it happened 6 years prior to him becoming district attorney general, or even Rod Rosenstein being in there. Like, so the whole thing was, there was multiple instances of that. And just if you can't get the simple timeline stuff right, the factual, provable timeline stuff right, then how can you take seriously anything else somebody says? What I mean?
No, totally. And, just to give you a little bit of background on why I wanted to interview him, I had done a background check on him at that time. I knew his real name. It was his fake name. His fake name was Ryan Dark White. He wasn't going by that. And the reason I'm saying this now is because the guy's dead. So nobody, doesn't matter if we talk about, the things that he didn't publish. But he definitely had been an informant for the DEA. And he had a criminal record, and he was, involved in this shady world. And I saw the court documents, he had been busted like in Baltimore. Rod Rosenstein was definitely involved in the case. So I think kind of what happened, this is just me guessing, but I think that he could only take his original story so far. And then he had all of this mystique built around it, and people kind of like built him up online like this mythical figure. And it was almost as if he had to just keep going to greater heights with things that people could never confirm. Okay. But people were like, oh my God, this guy, he's a whistleblower. And so what he's saying must be true. And so I think that's really eventually what happened to him. He just had to keep going. And at the end of his life, he made some wild claims about a video store, and he ran for sheriff. And he said that the owner of this video store was trafficking children out of the store. It turned out to not be true. He had to retract the claim and like write an apology letter. And because the people basically they took him to court and they were like, you can't say this. This is defamatory. You're trying to destroy our business. And so, and then he ended up passing away.
Here's a good example I can show you guys of one of the things I found. Another just factual inconsistency that's easily provable. In that testimony, he says Boroshak divorced his wife the same time as Rosati. So when you think same time, I could see, a couple weeks, couple months, even within the same year, right?
Yeah.
Two people got divorced. But if you look at the divorce records, Boroshak got divorced in 2013 and the other guy got divorced in 2017, over or almost 4 years apart.
Yeah.
So it's stuff like that multiple instances. But yeah, anyway, sorry.
But there is truth in it, right? I mean, there were two people, they both got divorced. It's just that, the details are muddy, right? And so if somebody takes a cursory look, then they'll be like, oh, okay, well that tracks, right?
But that's the thing. None of the details were actually factual. So you could fabricate an entire story based on half truths, of course.
Exactly.
And use it to slander somebody, what that entire testimony was meant to do.
Yes. My point is that somebody not looking deep to verify all of the facts, cross-reference anything, they would look at the surface level and they would just say, okay, well, that tracks, and they would just continue to move on. Oh. So anyways, I can't confirm the Adam Schiff stuff. And, but honestly, it wouldn't totally surprise me. Adam Schiff was friends with, that Democrat booster, Ed. Oh gosh, what's his name? He was the guy who would pick up.
Sharon?
No, he would pick up black male prostitutes, chain them to a bed, and then inject them with massive amounts of crystal methamphetamine. Ed, he ended up getting charged and going to prison.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Dim Booster, Ed, California.
Ed Buck.
Ed Buck. Yes, thank you. Ed Buck. So Adam Schiff was, close with Ed Buck. So, on a surface level, it honestly wouldn't surprise me at all if Adam Schiff was involved in some terrible stuff like that. But we can specifically connect Anthony Bourdain with the same group of individuals that have already been murdered and were working with these various charities, and specifically charities for children. Now, Anthony Bourdain also went hard on Harvey Weinstein and was really cheerleading for him to get charged and go to prison based upon him having raped Anthony Bourdain's girlfriend. At this time, Harvey Weinstein was still very powerful. Okay. He had, massive money, and he still was connected inside political and Hollywood circles. So Harvey Weinstein also, Harvey Weinstein has obviously connections to Israel, so there is a potential Mossad component that could be brought in there. Clearly, CIA is deeply invested in Hollywood. And so you've got this nexus of murders, intel, and money, and then politics as well. So
he looks so rough lately too.
What?
Have you seen pictures of him?
Harvey
lately?
Weinstein? Oh yeah, he's falling apart. Yeah.
It looks rough.
Yeah. All right. So Chris Cornell met Anthony Bourdain backstage at the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon in April of 2017. And during this time, they were discussing a documentary that Chris Cornell was involved in called The Promise. This was a film that was being made about Armenian genocide. And the subject of Armenian genocide is something that Anthony Bourdain also had tweeted about on a number of occasions. He was already a Soundgarden fan, and they got along pretty good. it was 1 month later, essentially, that Chris Cornell was murdered. And Chester Bennington and Avicii obviously were murdered after that. They were involved in that other documentary, The Silent Children. And Anthony Bourdain was sober at the time of his death. He was filming a new season of Parts Unknown for CNN. That's why he was in France. He was not suicidal. He had made a tweet about Hillary Clinton shortly before his death. Hang on just a second. Let me pull that up.
Maybe I'll find it here too.
I don't know how to tweet. I don't know how to search on somebody's Twitter account for keywords. If you can search Hillary Clinton.
Know what Hillary Clinton is not? She's not stupid or unsophisticated about the world. The Weinstein stories had been out there for years.
Okay, so this is one of them. This is him basically calling Hillary Clinton out for still having a relationship with Harvey Weinstein. But there is another one that he, God, it was something about Hillary eating babies or something like that. Oh gosh.
Let me try Hillary.
Okay, so right around the time he wrote that tweet, he said
babies.
So he had a series of tweets about Hillary Clinton. And let's see. And Hillary did not take kindly to it. So one day after Bourdain expressed his support for Asia, after she claimed Harvey sexually assaulted her, he took aim at Hillary Clinton. Bourdain tweeted his disappointment and anger toward the former Secretary of State, who said during a CNN interview on Wednesday that sexual harassment allegations made against Weinstein were intolerable. Now, so he obviously had the show on CNN. She does the interview on CNN. She was being interviewed by Fareed Zakaria, and she said, I was just sick. I was shocked. I was appalled. And, you know, like so many people who've come forward and spoken about this, this is a different side of a person who I and many others had known in the past, as if she doesn't still know him, even though she's definitely been hanging out with him up until the moment that he got called out publicly. And it should also be said that Harvey Weinstein's behavior with women was an open secret in Hollywood. He was just too powerful for people to do anything about it.
Here's the tweet, I think, on May 2nd, 2018. Let's assume for purposes of discussion that HRC is Satan's consort and eats children and puppies whenever possible. In what way is Mikey Cohen, the president's fixer, not a problem?
Okay, so yeah, so this is about Donald Trump as much as it's about Hillary Clinton. So he's basically saying that Michael Cohen's a problem and Hillary Clinton might eat babies and kill puppies.
and it goes on even further to say, and I'm in no way an HRC fan. I've been on the receiving end of her operatives' wrath.
Yes, there we go.
It ain't fun.
There we go. Okay, so Hillary Clinton directly called out by Anthony Bourdain prior to his death. What date is that? That's May 2nd. He was dead just a month later.
And thank you, Tattoo Teacher, for the search term. She's always said to search HRC.
Appreciate you. All right. So in October of 2017, before this, he said, I have to say Hillary's interview with Fareed Zakaria was shameful in its deflection and disingenuousness. And he continues, know what Hillary Clinton is not? She's not stupid or unsophisticated about the world. The Weinstein stories have been out there for years. And then he continues, mindless Hillary hate aside, this was a terrible response to questions about a friend who's been tormenting women for decades. Then he continues, I have met Hillary Clinton. I liked her. I admired much about her. This interview was a real disappointment. Hillary is clearly not responsible for anything Weinstein that's screamingly obvious. Her response to questions about that has been uninspiring. I can assure you that the victims of Mr. Weinstein's 3 decades of predatory behavior are disappointed too. I'm sitting next to one. So it's like he used to be definitely on the side of the aisle that favored Hillary Clinton. He figures out that Harvey Weinstein is a rapist and Hillary Clinton obviously is covering up for him. how reasonable do you think it is for him to assume that he did a little bit more research, also finds out that Bill Clinton is an unrepentant, violent rapist as well? And there were so many other things that kind of branch off of this.
This is an interesting one too. Looking forward to the penalty phase of the Weinstein trial.
Oh yeah. He was he hated Harvey Weinstein. But yes, the one about being on the other end of Hillary Clinton's operatives' wrath, that right there is probably the most damnable. So you've got a couple of different possibilities here. I mean, Harvey Weinstein could be looking to silence Anthony Bourdain because he's getting called out. Hillary Clinton and her operatives could be looking to silence Bourdain for that reason as well. But then you've also got his involvement with Chris Cornell and Chester Bennington. Now, here's the other thing, though. Around the time that this murder happened, it was alleged that Asia Argento may have had previous knowledge of it, and she was forced to appear in public with another man just hours before the tragedy. So the rumor was, as I heard it put at back then, and I don't know where the source was, I just remember reading this at the time, that Asia Argento had essentially been told that, Anthony Bourdain is going to die. You have to be seen out. It's almost like the humiliation ritual, like with Andy Spade being seen just after the murder of Kate Spade with the rat mask on.
Yep.
Okay. So Asia Argento is parading around town with some mystery man just a couple of hours before Anthony Bourdain is found dead. And she was also guilty of engaging in sexual activity with a minor.
Who's this?
This is Asia Argento. This is the woman who gave that speech at Cannes.
His girlfriend. Yeah.
His girlfriend. She was in a movie with this 15-year-old kid when she was 28 years old. Well, I'm sorry, but she was much younger. She and this kid were in a movie. He was a boy. Okay. And then he grew up. He was in his mid-teens. He could have been 15, 16, 17. He was definitely not 18, though. And she essentially seduced this guy. And they had sex. They took pictures together. She was 28. Anthony Bourdain was actually blackmailed by this young man and paid him off prior to his death. And so it's a very messy situation. Now, the age of consent in Italy, if I'm not mistaken, is younger than 18. But this happened in America. And no matter how you slice it, it's still unsavory. Even if legally, she's thinking it's a gray area. It's still pretty gross, especially considering that she had been assaulted. But Asia Argento is a strange one. She was she's Italian. Her father, Dario Argento, was an Italian horror film director. She was kind of sexualized at a young age. So I would not be surprised if she hadn't been a victim of sexual abuse. So her perception of what's okay is not necessarily going to be right on with what most people would feel. So you've got you've got this kid that's blackmailing them. You've got the Clintons. You might have Adam Schiff. You've got Henry Kissinger, who was the architect of the Vietnam War. You might have the Mossad. Obviously, you have Harvey Weinstein. The number of people who could have had something to do with this death that could have also had something to do with child trafficking, I mean, it extends pretty far and wide. Now, the Clintons are the most direct connection between the other murders and this murder right here. There he is, Jimmy Bennett. That's him. Young Jimmy Bennett. I don't think his career's gone very far after he came out. And I think that he only came out because Anthony Bourdain didn't want to pay him anymore.
Well, according to this, they first met on this film, The Heart is Deceitful.
Yeah. She played his mother in the film.
Yeah, it's crazy. He notified Argento that he intended to sue in November 2017, shortly after she went public with rape accusations against Harvey.
That's it. Yeah.
Argento countered that Bennett sexually attacked her, and that her partner Anthony Bourdain had arranged to pay the $380,000 as part of the settlement.
Yes. So he saw her come out at Cannes, and he was like, "This isn't right. I was sexually assaulted by this woman, and now I've got to say something." And then they paid him off, and then he came out anyways.
Well, following Argento's denial, a photograph of her topless in bed with Bennett was published, as well as her alleged admission of sex with him in text messages to model Rain Dove.
Yep.
I don't know what that is. In the screenshots, Argento repeatedly stated, "I had sex with him. It felt weird. I didn't know he was a minor until the shakedown letter." Dove confirmed in a statement that they had provided the text to police in response to Argento's apparent admission to sexual engagement with a minor, which is an illegal act that can qualify as statutory rape.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole thing's crazy.
Yeah. So it's very, very deep. Now, here's the other thing. The last person to see Anthony Bourdain alive was a very close friend of his and another renowned chef, a guy by the name of Eric Rippert. He stayed at the same hotel that Anthony was staying at, and it's alleged that as part of this set of episodes that he was involved in and he was investigating, that he was taking the show in a slightly darker direction. Because, as I said, he would travel to all of these different countries. He would sometimes dabble in the discussion about the drugs that were available, the sex trade, perhaps, people engaging in cannibalism. I mean, there was always a touch of darkness to his work, and he had this kind of undercurrent that went through his life. But the rumor was at the end that as part of this set of episodes that he was looking into others who were engaging in unsavory behavior like pedophilia and cannibalism. One of the chefs that he was rumored to have been investigating was another celebrity chef, Mario Batali. Mario Batali had also been accused of rape at his restaurant in New York. Mario Batali is this big, kind of jolly looking Italian chef. I think he's pretty fair skinned. Almost looks like he's Irish or something like that. But
what's his name?
Mario Batali, Batali. But it makes sense that Bourdain would be looking into him because he's now on this crusade to expose people who are rapists and sexual abusers. There he is. Yep. Now, of course, Mario Batali, famous celebrity chef, fabulously successful, lots of money, could easily make these claims go away. To my knowledge, he was never charged. There was a claim that was made. It never really went anywhere. Do you are you on Instagram, or can you pull up an Instagram?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Oh,
All right.
maybe.
So at one time I had looked at Mario Batali's Instagram account years ago, and there was some kind of, occultic hintings and maybe some things in there that I think people would pick up on, but I don't have Instagram, and it's too difficult to
Well, he did settle lawsuits from 2 women who accused him of sexual assault.
Yes. So he paid for them to go away. Yeah.
Let's see if we can find him.
So ultimately, the main theory behind Anthony Bourdain's murder is that likely at the end of his life, he was covertly operating in this world and seeking to expose and disclose the unsavory underbelly of Hollywood, of celebrity chefs, politics, the entertainment industry, all of it. And and of course, he was not high, he was not drunk at the time of his death. His family had no indication that he would kill himself. He was hung by his bathrobe. I'm trying to see if I can find the autopsy report.
Okay, let me see if I can have any luck on that.
Okay. He did an episode. Well, he apparently hung out with President Obama at one time too. They had dinner in Vietnam. I don't know if that was for the show or if they just did that. But besides being the last person to see him alive, Eric Rippert also found his body because they were supposed to film, and so he was scheduled to meet with Anthony Bourdain. He didn't show up, and then he missed dinner the night before, and then he also missed breakfast the next morning. So then Rippert allegedly went to his hotel room, and obviously he was dead at that point.
This is I found this article. Let me read this because this is allegedly the last text messages before he hung himself.
Oh, okay.
And it has to do with that Argento too. So Anthony struggled with fame and heartbreak in the days leading up to his death by suicide. A new book reveals in an unauthorized biography titled Down and Out in Paradise, The Life of Anthony Bourdain, journalist Charles Learson includes text messages sent by the late celebrity chef in his final days that give insight into his mindset. I hate my fans too. I hate being famous. I hate my job, he wrote his ex-wife, Ottavia, who'd become one of his closest confidants. Learson also notes in the book, due out October 11th, that Bourdain and his then-girlfriend of 2 years, Asia, or Argento, often had fits of jealousy. This is from 2022. 5 days before he died, the CNN host saw photos of Argento dancing with French reporter Hugo Clement in a Roman restaurant the couple would frequent together. According to the book, Bourdain was incensed over the images and searched the Land of the Dead star's name online hundreds of times, causing them to argue over phone via text. He says, I'm okay. I'm not spiteful. I'm not jealous that you have been with another man. I do not own you. You are free, as I said, as I promised, as I truly meant. But you were careless. You were reckless with my heart, my life. She responded, I can't take this. And then they broke up over his possessiveness, according to the book. A day later, after a full day of filming, followed by a night of drinking, the chef reached out to Argento once more. Is there anything I can do? And she said, stop busting my balls. Bourdain, according to the book, simply wrote back, okay, and then hung himself. Allegedly.
So yes, the relationship with Asia is basically what's blamed for it. But I seem to remember that there were some blind items about Eric Rippert. Hold on. Let me go to Crazy Days and Nights. Okay. Eric Rippert. Okay. So, no, I guess maybe not. Anthony Bourdain. Let me see Anthony Bourdain. So that was from 2017. That was when he died. That was 2012, 2022. Okay, the world is discovering what a horrible person this illiterate model is and was to the celebrity chef when the world gets to see what part she played in his death. Police in this country were given the opportunity to extradite one of the killers of this celebrity chef. The country chose not to do it because then it would open up so many other cans of worms that they want kept closed. So the country that was holding one of the killers released him. Of course, one of the other men involved in the murder has been in a long-term relationship with the illiterate model. The country is France. Obviously, Anthony Bourdain is the murdered, and then Asia Argento is the illiterate model, but he doesn't name who the killer is. In July of 2018, that was just after he died, this foreign-born illiterate model is doing a lot of blah, 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 blah about her ex, but is still hooking up with the guy she doesn't want anyone to know about. That's 2015, 2020. I sure would like to know why no one will turn over the footage shot on the day of and the day before the death of this A-list host. Apparently, in many of the shots from these 2 days, there are two men with buzz cuts and identical outfits following the host and the crew. They were not security for the crew. Obviously, Anthony Bourdain.
So what are they implying
So,
there?
well, I mean, he's saying that this was clearly a hit. That two of the men, well, that there were two men who did this. Obviously, it would have to be because Anthony Bourdain was he was in shape. He was a fairly large man. I want to say he was over 6 feet tall. So it would be necessary for them to hold him down. Buzz cuts, I mean, that indicates perhaps, military or special ops, something like that. Harvey Weinstein probably hated him more than anyone else. So perhaps it was Mossad related. This is in France, so it could have been any country, to be quite honest with you.
Is there any pictures of it or anything?
No. And what he's saying is that the footage exists, but it hasn't been released.
Gotcha.
On June 11th of 2018, so not long after, a couple of days, he said he knew it was coming. One producer says all the time they filmed, unless he had horrible food poisoning, our celebrity would be in his room only for sleeping and passing out. This time was different. It was almost as if he was hiding in his room, and he kept saying they are coming. He had been perfectly normal until he received word of the death of several people. Well, Kate Spade died shortly before him. Avicii had died roughly 2 months before him. So maybe there are other deaths that we don't know about that are connected to this series. But one in particular who would make sure the person with information would remain quiet. It took less than a week for them to come for our celebrity. And, obviously Kate Spade was 3 days before him. If there were other people that were connected, then, perhaps they were people in Anthony Bourdain's life. Let me see. Friends of Anthony Bourdain that died shortly before him. Obviously Jose Andre.
I know who that is.
Well, he's the celebrity chef that we've talked about in this series because he was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was also connected to Eric Rippert and Anthony Bourdain as well. He was connected directly to one of the people that was murdered in this.
This guy, right?
Yeah, wasn't he like a chef for Biden or something like that? He was in Biden's administration. He was appointed as some food health thing or something like that.
Let's see if I can find that. There's some let's see.
Gosh, I'm drawing a blank on which one of these murders he was connected to, but he
was appointed by Obama as ambassador for citizenship and naturalization.
Okay.
And then in 2022, he was appointed by President Joe Biden as co-chair of the President's Council on Sports, Fitness, and Nutrition. But apparently he planned to open a restaurant in the Trump International Hotel.
That's it. Yeah. Okay.
And then he withdrew, which
Loren Scott. I think somebody's saying Mermaid says that it's Loren Scott. Loren Scott, Jose Andre.
Interesting.
Well, I guess I can't confirm that because I can't find the picture. And somebody had suggested maybe Paul Walker. Paul Walker died in 2013, so that was well ahead of Anthony Bourdain. So I'm thinking whoever it is that they're referring to, maybe they're not a celebrity. Otherwise, they could have been name checked. In September of 2018, in a recent interview, this foreign-born, illiterate, sometime actress didn't deny she played a role in the murder of this A-list celebrity. She also confirmed what I have previously written about his cheating. Does she know with whom? I think she does, which makes this all the more interesting. And Asia and Anthony Bourdain. Gosh, it would be so easy if these came in order of the way they were posted. It's 2013, 2007.
I don't find anything else either.
Yes, Loren Scott was Mick Jagger's girlfriend, hung herself with a red scarf. Yep, we definitely know that. But I'm just trying to confirm what Jose Andres' connection was to one of these murders, because going into this, I didn't connect Jose Andre in any other memorable way. There was yeah, okay. And somebody in the chat is saying that Anthony Bourdain was also into martial arts too. So yeah, the guy was fit.
Jiu-jitsu, wasn't
Yeah. So he must have, it must have taken two people to go ahead and kill him. But all right. So I can't find anything about the autopsy. Probably has something to do with the fact that he died in France. But yes, and all of the stuff that I've heard about, pointing to specific people, having killed him, it's all come from NT. And NT has a really good track record. Like, I mean, a lot of stuff does not ever get revealed. It's only, just spoken about and hushed rumors on the site. But, years later, things have turned out to be true. But yes, so perhaps Asia Argento had something to do with it. Maybe she was offered clemency, so to speak, so that she would live and Anthony would end up taking the fall for everything that was being said. Haven't heard her speak out on much of anything since she was exposed for having slept with that young man. Okay, hold on. I may have just found something. Okay, so the prosecutor in France was quoted by the New York Times saying that Bourdain's behavior in the days leading up to his death leads us to suspect that not much preparation and premeditation went into the act, and leads us more in the direction of an impulsive act, or, an impulsive murder.
Yeah.
And the toxicology report was negative.
Was it a red scarf that he used?
It was the red belt of his robe.
Gotcha.
Yeah. The case is closed. There's no indication of any involvement by a third person. We're ready to give the body to the family.
And they cremated him too, didn't they?
Yes. So then that's it. There's no looking at it. Okay. All right. Yeah, I don't think there's anything additional here that we haven't already spoken on. Okay. But yeah, I would say, given the proximity to all of these different players that have had notable positions to play in all of these other deaths, I think it's safe to say that it's connected, especially considering the fact that we have the Kate Spade death just days ahead of time. Now, in between the death of Anthony Bourdain and Kate Spade, one day after the death of Kate Spade was Inez Zoroagueda. Now, I don't have any connection between Anthony Bourdain and Inez, but obviously she was 2 days before Bourdain. She was 1 day after Kate Spade. Anthony Bourdain would have undoubtedly been aware of both of their deaths, both very high profile. They were both in the news and they were all over the place. Now,
how do you spell her name?
Inez, I-N-E-S. So again, she was murdered on June 6th. She was found in her apartment in Buenos Aires, Argentina. So the reason she's notable is she is the baby sister of Queen Maxima of the Netherlands. And she was a psychologist, but she worked as a researcher at the United Nations and in Argentina's Ministry of Social Development. So she was an official of the National Secretariat of Children, Youth, and Family. And her sister, Queen Maxima, married into the Dutch royal family in 2002. Her father is a controversial figure. We'll talk about that. But she was a maid of honor in her sister's wedding. Her father was not allowed into the country because he was part of an oppressive Argentinian authoritarian regime under a leader named Videla. He served as the Minister of Agriculture to Videla during the national reorganization process. This was a time of brutal military dictatorship. And Jorge Videla was in charge of the country from 1976 to 1983. Now, here is where it gets sticky. During Videla's reign, over 30,000 Argentinian citizens disappeared.
Wow.
These were opponents to the regime, okay? So these were like political prisoners who were essentially disappeared off the streets and then brutally murdered and sometimes sexually assaulted. And if they were children, then they were trafficked nationally and internationally. You know who else is from Argentina?
Who?
Pope Francis, Jorge Bergoglio.
That's right.
At the time of this brutal military dictatorship, he was the head of the Jesuits in Argentina. If you'll remember our series on the Jesuits, they have all kinds of sticky things going on in their ranks, but they're essentially the assassination squad of the Catholic Church. And during Bergoglio's during the time that he was running the Jesuits and this military dictatorship was going on, he was fairly instrumental in aiding the military dictatorship and also hiding the crimes of this brutal regime while Videla was in power. And he was actually interrogated about his involvement in these crimes in 2010 because there was this call to, I guess, kind of root out the corruption and any criminals that might have aided and abetted. And of course, there was concern because it was known at that time that he could potentially become the next pope. And then in 2013, he became the next pope. So Bergoglio and members of the Dutch royal family, along with the Argentinian government, were involved in some horrific acts. And after Inés Zurigueda's father died, Inés cleaned out the properties that he owned. And during the course of cleaning out the estate, she found some horrific stuff. And this is what has been alleged that led to her death. What she found, John, was a video gallery and a blackmail vault that had been collected by her father while he was working in the government.
No way.
And while this disappearance phase had happened in Argentina. So she basically accidentally stumbles onto these rape and torture videos and blackmail videos, which include people from her sister's new family in the Netherlands. I don't know if it includes the Pope, but it includes some huge political figures from the 70s and 80s.
This is proven?
Well, I mean, this is what's alleged. Okay. And what I can tell you is that she was killed in the exact same way as Anthony Bourdain and Kate Spade, right in the center of it. So, and I'd also remind you that this is very similar to the Jeffrey Epstein sort of playbook, right? Okay. He had homes and estates where he would invite celebrities, politicians, famous people, rich people. He would have them come to his home. They would engage in sexual acts with women and children, oftentimes just children. And then he would keep the blackmail material on them. This is exactly like Sean P. Diddy Combs, except his appears to be far more brutal. He didn't care who he raped or who he treated terribly, whether it was women, men, or children. Anyways, but again, all of it on videotape, all of it used for blackmail. Now, the reason that this rumor is out there is because Inés spoke about this to people, and she spoke to her sister about it. And it was said that Inés made copies of the tapes and that she was going to reveal them. She was going to put it out there. One of the people that she is alleged to have sent this blackmail material to was Avicii. Yes, Avicii.
Wow.
Who was killed prior to her. All right. She also was alleged to have sent it to a friend of hers named Natasha Jate. And Natasha is the one who actually sent it on to Avicii. Now, Natasha Jate, let's see. Natasha Jate is actually dead. And there was an investigation into her death. But during her final years, she spoke about a pedophile ring on national television. And years later, one of the people that she named in this interview on television, someone named Marcelo Carranza, actually came to light that he was involved in something very like this. She talked about embezzlement and blackmail schemes, and she predicted her own death on April 5th of 2018. She tweeted out, "I'm not killing myself. I'm not overdosing." And then on February 23rd of 2019, she turns up dead. She was found unresponsive after a work meeting that she attended with a friend, Raul Valezatiki Duarte, and a businessman named Gonzalo Regani. They had met earlier at an event hall in Buenos Aires. And then after she was found dead, there was an investigation opened. And as of early 29, or like, no, hold on. Okay, no, this was published 2024. So the investigation was ongoing for a couple of years.
No way.
Yeah. She was killed in 2019.
What's her name?
Natasha Jate, Jaitt, Natacha. I'm reading from the Buenos Aires Times right now. This is one of the official newspapers.
You should share your screen then.
Okay. Present. Share this tab instead. Okay. All right. So, investigation shelved. The death of Natasha Jate. So, timeline. Inez finds the tapes. She makes copies, give the tapes to Natasha. Okay, this was sometime before her death, before Inez's death in June of 2018. Obviously, it's before Avicii's death in April of 2018. Natasha sends the tapes to Avicii. Avicii's final music video is about going after pedophiles and making them pay. He turns up dead on April 20th. June, Inez is found dead in her apartment June 6th, also hanging from a door in the same way as everybody else here. And Natasha goes on television and talks about this organized pedophile ring and famous people who are involved. Some of them later are officially found to be involved. She predicts her own death on April 5th, 2018, saying she's not going to kill herself and she's not going to overdose. And then by February of 2019, she's found dead. Well, she's found unresponsive and then later pronounced dead. She was at an event. She was found naked on a bed at the Xanadu Party Salon in Tigre. This is on the outskirts of Buenos Aires. The results of her autopsy concluded that the 41-year-old model died of multiple organ failure, which led to a cardiopulmonary collapse. Tests also confirmed that her body carried no signs of aggression, no defense wounds, or signs of rape. Traces of cocaine were found in her nostrils, although the hypothesis of an overdose is ruled out. Let's just, spitball here, but if somebody had given her cocaine, it would be very easy to put like a neurotoxin or something in that cocaine. She snorts it. She doesn't have to even do too much. And it can send her body into organ failure, and it makes it look like, she just died.
Wouldn't they find traces of that though?
Well, yeah, but I mean, what if it's a novel neurotoxin that they would have to look for? The CIA has developed any number of different toxins, like the shellfish toxin that they made the heart attack gun for.
Sure.
Can't test for it. But, if you're looking for that one specifically, you can go ahead and find it. All right. So her brother, Ulysses, expressed anger over the actions of the prosecutor general's office and cast doubt over the details of the autopsy. The medical examiner's report says the autopsy test informing of her chronic heart disease is not in keeping with her tests from 90 days previous, where this supposed heart disease did not exist. That test is signed by a cardiologist from the Tournou Hospital, which makes it official. The same doctor who found a lot of cocaine in her nostrils, compatible with an involuntary inhalation, meaning that once she was unconscious, it was possible she was given more so that while breathing, she would continue to sniff until she died.
How can they prove that?
Well, okay, so like if you're doing cocaine, you're sucking cocaine through a straw into your nose, and you're going to want to make sure that you get all of it all the way through your nose, okay? Nobody does cocaine and does it halfway, all right? Like, I mean, like you inhale cocaine and you're getting everything as far back as you can. And people who are on cocaine are like sniffing, like they're making sure to like keep it in and not just like let it sit in their nostrils. So, but the amount of cocaine that was found in her nose, her little brother is saying, is consistent with an involuntary insufflation, which means that she's passed out, she's laying back, somebody takes like a big straw of cocaine and basically just blows it into her nose. So then she's got all of this cocaine deposited inside of her. Gotcha. And it's there as she's slipping away. She continues to, absorb the cocaine and all of that. So he says, but the autopsy says that it is not plausible that Jate was given cocaine while unconscious. My doctor says the amount found could only have been introduced. So you've got multiple doctors saying different things. Obviously, the people who officially did the autopsy, they're probably working for people who are connected directly to this very conspiracy. They've got an interest in making it look like, she just died of natural causes. But the one thing you cannot look away from is the fact that her heart disease was not pre-existing. 90 days prior to her dying supposedly of heart disease, there was no heart disease.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Okay. All right. So Rigoni, one of the men that she was with, was the last one to see her alive. The 50-year-old is the owner of that Xanadu event hall where she had been to an event, and a company called Conoflex, which is a supplier of the national government of flexible yellow traffic cones. So according to sources who were close to Natasha, the courts refused to investigate Rigoni and set their sights on the other guy, Duarte, for bearing false witness. He was swiftly acquitted. So they brought him on charges, but then, he got off on it. Duarte, who witnessed the meeting with the businessman, says there was no plot to kill Natasha, but he still has questions. There was no plot to kill Natasha because we went to a meeting with someone we did not know. We found out at the same spot that there had just been a party with pimps and drugs, federal crimes, which the courts never deemed to investigate. I was there waiting for police in the ambulance for a few minutes. The strange thing was that the police arrived, checked her, and once one of the officers said on his walkie-talkie, "She's dead," then the ambulance immediately arrived. You know what I mean? Almost like he gave the signal, and then the ambulance comes and they just pull her away. So the brother Ulysses is unshakable in his beliefs. With my lawyers, we asked them to investigate Rigoni and nothing. I'm convinced he was involved, but the courts are not at all suspicious. That right there is suspicious in and of itself. He tampered with the scene of the crime by taking the bottle from the room and taking 3 glasses where there were 2 of them. So what's in the 3rd glass? That could also be a way that some type of toxin could be introduced. Ulysses describes him as very dangerous. He has connections all over the country, and apparently he's used them because it's not logical that he hasn't even been investigated. The thing is, if they arrest him and he talks, he has to tell them who came up with the murder, and that would definitely be a mess. Now, the former lawyer for Natasha, Alejandro Cipolla, said, "I never understood why Rigoni was not indicted. It was all wrong in that case. From expert examinations of the place, which were then changed, to ignoring the involvement of many of those present at the event. With my lawyer, Yamil Castro Bianchi, we'll put together a team of lawyers because we're fighting ghosts. We'll reopen the case in another jurisdiction because otherwise it would be like going back into the lion's den," said Natasha's brother, Ulysses. So obviously he believes that she was murdered, and the investigation is very, very strange.
Yeah, I mean, there's some interesting stuff there, but also like if somebody does die, like somebody you know and love, you're going to want to think of other reasons. Like you're never going to want to think of that person as being suicidal or even if it's an accident.
Especially if they just predicted their own death by unnatural causes on Twitter after outing a pedophile ring on national television.
That part's crazy, predicting your own death.
I think that anytime somebody shows up on national television when they're not supposed to and says, that there is this giant pedophile ring. Now, here's the thing. The stuff about Inez and these tapes, this was out before Natasha went on TV and started talking about a pedophile ring. Okay. Like her friend had already been found dead under mysterious circumstances. Her other friend, Avicii, had also been found dead under mysterious circumstances.
And it's all connected to those tapes. That is notable.
And it's all connected to those tapes.
The alleged tapes.
Yes. All right. So here's a blind item from Enti from 2018, which is about Bergoglio.
Okay.
This is June 9th, 2018, 3 days after Inez is dead. He was right in the middle of the kidnapping and murder of tens of thousands of people. If you were female,
you share a screen?
Yes, I can. Hold on just a second. Present, share screen. Share this tab. Okay. Let me make it as big as possible.
That's what she said.
Yes. Okay. Okay. So he was right in the middle of the kidnapping and murder of tens of thousands of people. If you were female, the chances were good you were going to be sent to a special facility, which was frequented not only by members of the elite in the country, but also the elite from many other countries too. Those coming from other countries seem to have the philosophy that they could do as they like with no repercussions because who would ever know? But when you have a regime that corrupt, they want some leverage. And many, if not most of these encounters with the females were captured on film or video. The video is grainy stuff and old now, but the films are vivid and you can identify everyone in them. The person in charge of collecting and cataloging the videos and the subjects belonged to a cabinet-level member of the government. That was Inez's father. Long thought destroyed. Many of the world's elite who participated breathed a sigh of relief last year when the videographer died. It turns out, though, the films and video and who is in each was never destroyed. They were all in a garage next to the guest house where they had been for decades. In February, one of his children, Inez, started digging through it. She told members of her family and lots of her friends, and also in March, told one of her longtime friends she had met through her sister. The person she told was a foreign-born permanent A-list celebrity. The subject of our blind was not blasting this all on social media, but she was not keeping it quiet either. None of the people she told had really seen much of the films. They were too hard to watch. 2 weeks ago, the government of the country came to collect the entire library of films. What they had not recovered were the volumes that named names in each of the films. After such a long time, they needed the volumes to be able to identify every person in the films. They said they wanted them to let relatives of the long-dead females know their fate. No one knows where the volumes are now. What we do know is the woman who held them back is dead. The country, of course, is Argentina. The former Argentine Army general is Luciano Benjamin Menendez. The cabinet-level member is Inez's father, Jorge Zorrigueda, who found the library, Inez Zorrigueda. The sister is Queen Maxima of the Netherlands, and the A-list celebrity is Avicii. And this was, I'm sorry, this is not the day after. This was almost a month after. So July 4th, and she died on June 6th.
We don't know who NT is.
No. Well, yes, we do know who NT is. He's an entertainment lawyer, and he's actually he ran for Congress once. Okay. No, he must have updated it on July 4th, but it was he revealed the blind information on July 4th. He posted it on June 9th.
Which is a day after
3 days. 3 days after her death.
And a day after Bourdain's.
Yes, a day after Bourdain's. Yes.
Wild.
Yeah. Yeah. Very,
That's
very
nuts.
wild.
That's very much Jeffrey Epstein-ish.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. Jeffrey Epstein didn't invent this. Okay. This is the playbook. This is how they control people in positions of power. This is how they control politicians. This is how they control businessmen. This is how they control movie stars, Hollywood, musicians, all of them. This is what they do. They compromise people, and then once they're compromised, they can control them.
That's fascinating.
Yes, it is
I'd
fascinating.
never heard that story. And I mean, shit. If you're that country, which country was it again? It was
Argentina.
Now, that is nuts.
So what's also interesting is that this period in Argentina was assisted and kind of aided along by the CIA. They had an operation during that time in Argentina called Operation Condor, and they assisted in hunting down these political dissidents.
Wow.
And they were part of these disappearing. There was something that was called right-wing death squads at the time, because they were fighting communism, right? I mean, the people that were against the government were supposedly communists. And the Central Intelligence Agency has this, history of going into these countries and propping up whatever government is going to, be most aligned with their goals. So if they're right wing, if they're fascists, then obviously not everybody that's right wing is fascist, but we're saying like at the extremes, you've got fascism and communism. And then you just go a little bit further back and they basically meet in the middle, and they're exactly the same thing. But the worst of the worst on either end, they will have their own death squads. And these were, supposedly not communist death squads. So right-wing death squads. They would hunt down the communists and the CIA helped them. And of course, I mean, the CIA was involved in the disappearances of all these people. I mean, maybe they gave them the idea of creating these videos. Maybe they said, hey, you're going to want to have control over this government and the population. So you should do what we do. We just get people on video having sex with, not having sex with, raping kids and raping women. And then maybe they needed, there already would have been an international child trafficking ring that was in position. So these kids got to be inserted somewhere. You know what else this is very similar to is the Belgian child trafficking and murder case.
Before you go into that, can I read this? I just did a little search on this this coup. Argentina Videla is his name, right?
Yep.
Jorge Videla. He overthrew the democratically elected government of President Isabel Perón. The coup was supported by the United States despite widespread human rights abuses and disappearances that followed. Declassified documents reveal that the CIA had ample forewarning of the coup plotting and maintained a channel of communications with the plotters. In March of 1976, CIA Director George H.W. Bush informed President Gerald Ford of possible coups in Argentina, Thailand, and Peru. The CIA also reported on the military's plans to commit human rights violations, but the Ford administration chose to support the coup anyway, viewing it as a necessary measure to stabilize the country.
Yes.
Insane.
Now, in 1983, after Videla was essentially, he moved on, there were elections, and there were actually military tribunals that were held to prosecute the people who had been involved with these disappearances and these human rights abuses. And Jorge Zurigueta was not prosecuted. He was, thought to be far enough removed from the crimes that, as the Minister of Agriculture. And so he just went on, he raised his daughters, and one of them got married into royalty, likely as some sort of payback or payment on the knowledge that he had of the Dutch royal family. She married into that family. And then once Inez was found to be in possession of these tapes, and people who were connected to those tapes learned about it, they came and they took them from her, but not before she had already given some of them to Avicii. And they did not get the final tape, which was like the collection of who was in every single one. So theoretically, that tape or that set of tapes still exists out there.
That is nuts.
Yeah. And again, the woman that allegedly made the connection between her and Avicii also was killed just shortly after in 2019.
And there's some documents. I'm just going through looking at some of this stuff of the CIA meeting with the president, Videla. I mean, can you imagine the treasure trove, like what damage the CIA could do with those videos?
Absolutely. I mean, like the goal of the CIA is to basically control everything. I mean, the goal of every covert intel agency is to control as much as they possibly can. I mean, at least the Mossad is doing it for the benefit of Israel, right? I mean, they want to make sure that Israel is in charge of everything so that they can basically run things without actually being in charge of everyone. The CIA is more like, I look at them as controlling things for their own benefit. They have their own twisted idea of the way the world should run. And obviously they're making as much money as they possibly can. And they're also serving a different set of masters. Whether they think they're doing it for the benefit of their own twisted idea of what the United States needs to be, or, the shadowy global criminal cabal that we kind of think of it as, I really can't tell you. But I would hope that this, along with everything else, finally comes out. And if that includes the exposure of Pope Francis, I think that's totally worthwhile. And think about him as a figure. He's been so controversial the entire time. And, part of his controversy coming into this was because, he had been involved with these disappearances. And besides the fact that he's a Jesuit, so he's got the stain of this all over him. But if he was involved in a more direct way, then he, as a central figure in the Catholic Church, has also done the bidding of this global criminal cartel by pushing the migration agenda on the entire world and helping to dismantle the various traditional structures that we have in place. I mean, he's certainly overseen the dismantling of the Catholic Church, liberalization of the Catholic Church.
Yeah, this is fascinating. I mean, how this all connects. The Red Scarf murders.
Yes. So anyways, the reason I wanted Inez to be last, even though she was second to last in terms of those murders, is because I think that there's an argument to be made that those tapes are really what kicked much of this off. Because we have this central theme of all of these people not only being connected to the Clintons in many ways, but having this desire to expose these injustices, child trafficking. For the time that this was happening, I mean, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, they could have made a trip to Argentina very easily.
In the 70s?
Well, I mean, this would have been from, I think it was 76 to 83.
Yep.
Bill Clinton, he was governor of Arkansas at that time. He was working with the CIA on importing cocaine. He was notorious in Arkansas. Let me see. Clinton's Argentina. Never thought to. Well, President Clinton, he made a trip to Venezuela, Brazil, and Argentina, of course.
Let's see. He went in 97.
Chi-Chi, Cisco, what are you doing? Chi-Chi. All right, I think we should probably cut it because I think I got to make sure Chi-Chi doesn't take a leak.
Okay, you can go. I'll start reading. The rants here.
I'll be right back.
All right. We got no Badlands boost, so we'll get right into the rants, guys. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up. Ja34, no better way to cap off my 25th birthday than with my two favorite hosts. Ooh, happy 25th birthday, man. Hope to see you at another Gart. I haven't seen you since Irvine. Thank you for the rant and happy birthday.
Will you pull those up on screen?
I sure can. Yeah, it's Ja's birthday today. Remember Ja from Irvine?
Oh, yeah. Happy birthday.
Tammy Holland, hope you both had a great Thanksgiving weekend. Have you guys looked into the disappearance of Madeline from a resort? The sketches of the kidnappers look just like Anthony Weiner and his brother. Is it Podesta?
Yeah, the kidnappers look exactly like the Podesta brothers. I'm pretty sure we've talked about that on the show before.
Not in detail, like as its own conspiracy, but I think it came up during the Podesta discussion.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you, Tammy. Simultan, the Jean Benet conspiracy was discussed on DPH with Just Human. He is one who did a show about it on his channel. I don't think we discussed it on the show, but yes, he did do it on his own channel. Tammy Holland, I stand corrected. It was the Podesta brothers that the sketches looked like in connection with the Madeline disappearance from a resort. Thank you, Rocky17, for the correction. Most pedos resemble each other. It's the pedo face Patrick talks about. Saul Bish, when and how did John Here to Help die? I think he ran for Senate, but definitely not sheriff. Either way, he certainly didn't seem to be able to keep his story straight.
It was in the last 2 years. I don't really know more than that.
Backdoor Biden, Weinstein and Epstein both had deformed penises, according to those who had seen them.
That is absolutely true. Yes.
Gonna have to take their word for it, because never heard that.
Certainly, I don't have any firsthand witness testimony, but I've definitely heard it reported.
1027JS, thanks for the info about all these so-called suicides. Thank you, Joe, for the support and the rant. Dragonfly Sister, but if Bourdain thought people were after him, wouldn't he want to stay with people instead of staying in his room by himself?
Well, I mean, let's just like break it down. Okay, so you're afraid that people are coming for you. You're in a country that's not yours. You don't know anyone. Maybe you think you can't go to the cops because perhaps they're in on it. You know, I mean, what do? I mean, you resort to retreating to some place that you think might be the safest. And, you know, maybe he thought that he could keep himself locked in his room and nobody would get to him. Once the workday was done, he was no longer surrounded by people. You know, I can only speculate as to his motives at the time. But I mean, you know, just thinking from my own perspective, if I am aware that there are people who are coming to kill me and I have no way to protect myself and I can't trust the authorities, then, you know, what do you do?
Yeah. I want to read this one first before I read Godwin's. City Girl Gone Country says, my best friend's brother committed suicide this morning. Any prayers for her family are greatly appreciated. Do not want to name her, but God will know who the prayers are for. My heart is broken. I'm so sorry to hear that, City Girl. And we will definitely pray for him.
Yeah. And the whole family.
Yeah, it's terrible. And then the last rant here from Godwin73. Dave Chappelle's 2019-ish joke about Bourdain seemed to be as much as he could say without danger. That's how I took it anyway. And I actually have that pulled up. I figured we could close that out.
Okay, yeah, I've never actually, I don't think, well, I mean, if it was in one of his Netflix specials, I might have heard it, but I don't remember it.
Yeah, so we'll close out with this, guys. Hit that thumbs up. Yeah, we'll have to figure out what we're going to do next week, but tune in Wednesday for the DPH. We're going to talk all about Kash Patel and some other happenings, but thanks, Zach.
Thank you.
Catch you later.
Good people of Atlanta, we must never forget that Anthony Bourdain killed himself. Anthony Bourdain had the greatest job that show business ever produced. This nigga flew around the world and ate delicious meals with outstanding people. That man, with that job, hung himself in a luxury suite in France. They say 2000 party over, oops, out of time. So tonight I'm gonna party like it's 1999. I knew a nigga in high school that was an urban genius. This motherfucker's grades were so good, he got all the way from the hood to an Ivy League school with a full scholarship. From there, the motherfucker got himself into one of the best law schools in the country. And when he was in law school, he met a woman and they fell in love and they were gonna get married. I remember him telling me about it. He was home for Christmas and I told him, I said, my man, save that bitch for later in your life. But he's in love. He didn't listen to me. He married her while he was in law school. And sadly, they got divorced while he was in law school. He was a street nigga from the hood. This man had nothing. And that bitch took half of that. And then I just never saw him again for years. And then 2 years ago, I was home in DC doing some shopping, trying to buy my sons some socks at Foot Locker. I go to Foot Locker, guess who's the manager? That nigga. Dressed like a referee, the whole shit. This motherfucker is 45 years old. We went out drinking that night, just trying to catch up. And he told me, he said he's been living with his mother for like 10 years, just trying to get back on his feet. But that's not the point of the story. The point of the story is, never occurred to this nigga to kill himself. He's alive and well in DC. I even suggested to him that he should try it out. Like, I don't know, nigga, like I've been watching that new